So here we are in the beginning of the new year. And one thing I want to do over the coming weeks is help you to understand what you can expect over the next 12 months, astrologically speaking. To this end, I asked really the best astrologers I know, really, I would say some of the best astrologers in the world. What do you think everybody needs to know about the year ahead? What do they need to know about the astrology of 2024? I'm kicking off with Kim Fairminer, and she's amazing. She's an astrologer, she's a holistic counselor, she's a magic mentor, which is really pertinent this week because Pluto, the planet of magic, is triggered, and she specializes in helping people make their way through significant life changes and overcome their blocks. So if you're going through a significant life change or feeling blocked, she's kimfairminer.com. That's her website. So Kim uses divinity and magical techniques to help people align with their desired life path, offering guidance and support in their journey towards personal growth and fulfillment. Kim's approach is focused on helping people navigate their transformations and achieve alignment with their goals. So I asked Kim, okay, Kim, what do you think everybody needs to know about the astrology of 2024, oh brilliant astrologer? And here's what she said.
Hi everyone, my name's Kim Fairminer. I am an astrologer from Brisbane, Australia, and 2024 is going to be such an exciting year full of new possibilities. The big transit of the year is the Jupiter-Uranus connection in Taurus. When I was looking at all the transits and major planetary movements of the year, late March, April and May are my pick of the most pivotal months of 2024. So this is a really big, busy, dynamic time with a lot happening really in quite dense 2-month period. There's the lunar eclipse in April, followed up by the solar eclipse in Aries. There's the lunar eclipse in Libra, followed by the solar eclipse in Aries. We've also got a Mercury retrograde there in Aries. And then, of course, the once in a decade-ish Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And in 2024, it's happening in Taurus. Then in May, Jupiter moves into Gemini. So this really looks like a wake up to reality moment. It's like you've hit the snooze a few times and then suddenly you like wake up and realize that you're running late, and you make urgent adjustments to what you're setting out to accomplish, and really you're the only one that can do it. This isn't something that kind of can be delegated, and some people are going to find this period like too fast paced. It's really quite zingy energy. Other people are going to love it though. And they're really exhilarated by this change. So just watch your energy levels during that period because you could end up a bit wired and tired. And you could find yourself oscillating between those two responses as well. Like sometimes you might like really be into it and then go, sort of, flaking on the couch afterwards. My advice is to keep some flexibility in your own schedule. Be flexible with others too, because they're going to be making changes in their life as well. It's a really great time to live and let live. So what's happening is that Jupiter and Uranus, they like to try new things and extend themselves. They're both sky gods and they're collaborating in an earth sign. So you've got the heavens and the earth coming together. Jupiter is Zeus in the Greek pantheon. He's a sky god, the god of thunder. He's also a moral conscience, and he guides us in right dealing with others and with ourselves. So he's really got this idea of integrity that's important to keep in mind. You've also got Uranus. He's much more rebellious. He's associated with the myth of Prometheus. So he shares an interest with Jupiter with knowledge, because what Prometheus did, he stole fire from the gods, and fire is kind of, you can approach it as a metaphor for knowledge, and Jupiter is the guru, also very interested in learning. So in a way, we're sort of learning about the earth. So Prometheus stole knowledge to share with humanity. So there's this real egalitarian interest that Uranus has, and he's not a fan of hierarchy. And that's a theme that emerges with Pluto in Aquarius as well. Tete-a-tete between our sky gods is happening in the fixed earth sign of Taurus, ruled by Venus. So Taurus is associated with land, the environment, work and labor, tangible things, things that bring us comfort, like food, how we use our resources, what we spend our money on. Fashion, fabric also come in there. I'm a bit sort of interested in that, with the rise of the secondhand economy, more sustainable fabrics. So Taurus is more interested in the design, not so much the design, that I think perhaps will be more of a Libra thing, but in the production. So we've got this future focused energy. What happens to things after we use it? And Jupiter's quite optimistic, though. He's got his eye on the horizon and he sees things far off, but he sees things for the better, ways of making, improvements, and, involving more people. Uranus has that way of looking at the world as well, progress, innovation, but Uranus is more individualistic in his approach. Anyway, so I think this transit is going to bring a bit of optimism about the future. Uranus has a scientific bent as well. So watch out for scientific breakthroughs, technological innovation, particularly around those sustainability topics. And, you might be working on that in your own life as well. It's quite sort of, radical energy, a bit of an up-leveling as well, that higher perspective. So look to the area of your chart, the house of your chart, where Taurus is, and ask what radical changes are you ready to make? There's liberation through and liberation from ideals and concepts which have a tangible impact on your work, your finances, your health, and your lifestyle. This is real tangible, earthy Taurus stuff, the nuts and bolts of life, if you will. In a way, I don't feel like the newness of 2024 is going to be fully experienced until we enter that eclipse season in late March. We've got eclipses, Mercury retrograde, which is always exciting, and this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And then we have Jupiter moving into Gemini. So one of the things I actually love about 2024 is that all the outer planet transits involve Jupiter. And I think that's like one of the key flavors of the year ahead. Jupiter, as I've mentioned, brings that sense of optimism and growth, and particularly around those Gemini topics when Jupiter changes signs from late May. If you're a Taurus, you might be a little bit sad, understandably, about Jupiter moving out of your sign. But all the Geminis are really looking forward to Jupiter's arrival, because Jupiter's like Santa Claus. He's generous and he wants us to enjoy life, and he'll be doing it by offering everything that Gemini has to offer. So Jupiter in Gemini can be too many shiny things and trying to be everywhere simultaneously. If you think in terms of sort of older broadcast mediums, we're like all, up there on the internet these days, but if you think like radio or television, Jupiter in Gemini is kind of like channel surfing, like you're just changing the station all the time and never listening to a whole song or watching the entire show. So it's like that kind of hopping around. There's a really strong interest in communication and commerce. I think that the social media landscape is going to be super interesting once Jupiter moves into Gemini. So like new platforms might pop up, there'll be updates and further monetization of existing platforms. So more ads, experimental tweaks in the functionality and the algorithm from May onwards. I think Threads is really an interesting one to watch as well, because that's got that novelty value, and Gemini loves new things. And there's also they work with a lot of conversation there, like so it's people writing to each other and having a bit of a chat, which is very Gemini. So expect more ideas, more conversation from Jupiter and Gemini. They're not necessarily in-depth ones. There's this lightheartedness to it, a sense of play that we can bring to our spiritual journeys. Jupiter is a spiritual planet, and you're spiritual people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to me. Be following Yasmin. We're here for a reason. We're curious. We know that there's something more. And Gemini brings us that opportunity to try things as well. So to max out, to use a very Jupiterian term, Jupiter in Gemini, keep an open mind and be curious for best results, and also sense of humor. You could showcase it even with your family, have fun with friends, maybe even, have some laughs at work, but, not too much can be a Jupiter word as well. He brings everything in abundance. So from a professional perspective, given that we're talking about work, Jupiter in Gemini is really great for writing and marketing. So if you're an author and you're writing a book, or maybe you're a teacher and you're teaching a course, you'll have additional planetary support during this transit. Also, of course, there's that more advertising and more marketing. So there'll be a lot of buying and selling as well. And I think things like information products, books, courses, lectures, debates, discussion panels, people are going to be more curious than ever and will want to know all the things. Jupiter's interested in topics like philosophy, dreams, religion, spirituality, higher education, publishing, and travel. Travel is a great thing to do to expand your mind and your experience. Learning a foreign language would be like the perfect thing to do under Jupiter in Gemini. It'll be like, I don't know, look, maybe I'll finally crack Spanish and be able to hold a conversation without, resorting to my translator or being worried about tenses. Anyway, whatever you're learning though, and it's just shopping around for it, it could come with a lot of extra Gemini spin. So if you're selling something, it's really important to stay in your integrity as a seller, whether you're popping it on Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace, or in your work, you sell things. You might sell, crockery or cars. Be in your integrity. Jupiter's the planet of right dealing, and also read the fine print if you're buying. So, there's a two-way, depending on the end of the transaction you're on, that you can bring the awareness of Jupiter and Gemini to those transactions. In the second half of 2024, we've got the first of two passes of Jupiter square to Saturn. And this is a real change of pace from that high-paced, zingy energy that, tends to characterize the first half of the year. So all that expansion and the pivoting, the exploration, the, trying new things that we've done in the first half of the year kind of runs into some challenges with that square between Jupiter and Saturn the second half of the year. It's a classic tension between growth and containment. And there's a need to stabilize and consolidate in order to continue expanding. And so that sometimes can be tricky. Because Jupiter will be in Gemini and Saturn will be in Pisces, I'm anticipating mindset challenges. So, we've got two halves to our brain, two things that our brain does. We've got our intellect and our imagination. And so there's going to be this need for realism and perseverance that doesn't plummet into doom and gloom, bad Saturn, or go on a spacewalk into magical thinking, which can be, like the Jupiterian pie in the sky. So when this square's active, your thinking might be muddled, or you might feel that your intuition is suppressed. It's not going to be too bad though, I don't think, because Pisces and Gemini are both mutable signs. So whichever way you lean isn't going to be permanent. You've got some flexibility there. And with that, there's an opportunity to readjust and bring yourself back into balance. And that will relieve a lot of that mental and psychic tension. So that transit carries us into 2025. And while it kind of seems pretty far off now, just sort of file that away, that the second half of the year is, slower and, is going to require, I guess, in some ways more effort. There's not that rushing current of energy that, perhaps that we're going to experience in the first half with so much changing in that late March to May period. Right at the end of 2024, we've got another Mercury retrograde period that starts in late November. And it starts in the middle of that Mercury retrograde period, Mars retrograde starts. So it's a bit of a double whammy there. But we get 3 Mercury retrogrades every year. But I think it's the Mars retrograde one that's going to create a lot more frustration. Mars retrograde is the least common retrograde cycle, and we're just not as experienced at dealing with it. So things kind of tend to, go off the rails a little more easily. People get sort of pent up. And at that time of year, which is when we're recording this, there's a lot going on. There's parties to go to, holidays to organize, end of year activities to tie up. And, you know, people are kind of ready for that fresh start. Mars is the planet of go, and a retrograde tends to say no. Not really no. Generally, it's not yet. So there's a delay there. But Mars doesn't like delays. And, you know, when you're waiting for, you know, your Christmas activities to all come together, you don't want delays when you're at the airport flying to an exotic location. Like, you know, this frustration and flaring tempers when we're really keen to do something and an obstacle is put in the way. Mars will be retrograde in fiery Leo too, which brings a little extra drama. People are likely to get quite frustrated, particularly if they don't feel seen. And also added to the mix, Neptune is at a standstill in early December as well. So there's this real sense of slowing down. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, filing this away in my little brain, I plan to give myself extra time in that late November, December 2024 period and be extra organized if I can and extra flexible with whatever I'm doing at the time. And also, you know, cut the people around me a bit of slack because perhaps they haven't listened to all the wisdom that Yasmin's sharing on her channel. Anyway, thank you for inviting me to share my thoughts on 2024. I wish you all a healthy, prosperous, and joyful year ahead. I'm Kim Fairminer. Bye.